Hello everyone, Hummus28 here, and welcome back to SkyFactory 4. So, as we left off last episode, we mostly finished off the first advancement tab in SkyFactory 4. We just have 3 more to do, and I think we can finish those up right now. They shouldn't actually be that difficult. In fact, to make donuts, we just need cooked dough, which is wheat, which, if I get a little bit of water, we should be able to craft. If I can just dump this somewhere. How can I dump this? Can I put it back in there? I can. Cool. Let's grab a bit of water, make our dough, and cook it into some donuts. Swap that around. And make a donut sapling. So we just do this, make our dough, then throw the dough into a furnace. I'm not really sure why you need this apart from just having it. Like, I'm not actually sure if it does anything useful, but it's part of the progression, so we might as well do it anyway. And, oh, you need an apple sapling. I have these. There we go. Apple sapling. We're going to need sugarcane. Make some sugar. And now we should be able to make. And it doesn't. Oh, I didn't make the donuts. That's why. There we go. 4 donuts. And make 1 donut sapling. Dough. Advancement completed. Now we take our pork chops and crush these guys with our squeezer to make a little bit of bacon. And I think I'm going to need 1 more to make the bacon sapling. Or in this case, 2 more. I think the recipe takes 3, but we get pieces of these in 2s. And make ourselves a bacon sapling. And now we just have to craft a bucket of cobblestone mud. Which will take... Wait, is that water? Yes, water and dirt. So we just need a little bit more water. And then a little bit of dirt. So we can just go ahead and craft both. Now we can make the bucket of mud, type cobblestone. And with that, we've completed the first advancement chapter. You win! And now we can move on to other stuff. Now, what do I actually get from this tree? Where is my crook? It drops donuts. Alright, cool. So it's pretty much just an infinite source of food. And I assume the bacon tree is the same thing, with just making infinite bacon, and we can find out real soon. And if it's just food, that's not really a big boon, but I mean, it's nice to have. Now from the bacon tree, we get more bacon, and what can I do with bacon acorns? Make bacon amber, which looks like it doesn't do anything. Liquid bacon can be made into more bacon. Good to know. Ah, I see. So to make the ultimate singularity, we will need enough bacon to craft a bacon singularity and a donut singularity. Good to know. And you might have noticed the barn behind us. I just built a nice little, farmy looking area for our base. Oh, that's nice. They connect. So if I do this, okay, it doesn't, yeah, they don't work the same way I guess past do. But we have a little farm where I put the cows inside and built a little barn using the painted wood. And I think it looks nice. Because the next area I'm going to expand out, I think I'm going to expand outwards in this way since I already have the platform, but we need to build our industrial sector so we can start producing power, which will power all of the machines. Now, looking at the age of power, I'm not quite sure what would be the best. Use a treadmill to make pick power. Use a lead to attach the pick to the treadmill. Interesting. I guess I could try all of these. Craft a cyclic dehydrator to automate recipes from the drying rack. Mechanism. RF tools is here, so we could make that. We have building gadgets. Those would be nice to make as well. But what about power? Yeah, so looking at the generators, there are quite a lot. Oh, there's nuclear craft in this pack. So should I just be using nuclear craft to make a nuclear generator? Well, that probably comes later on. We need to set up some basic infrastructure first, but I did have quite a lot of fun building nuclear reactors in Compact Claustrophobia, so we can end up doing that later. But for now, I think I just need to build out this way and build a factory that we can use to build all of our stuff. Alright, so to start, I'm thinking the culinary generator could be pretty good, because food is essentially infinite and pretty easy to produce, and we can burn toasted bread for quite a lot of power. And there we go, 1 simple culinary generator. Generator? I hardly know her. Haha. My favorite type of joke. Now let's see, show recipes. So the recipe I was looking at, and there's quite a lot. We can burn literally anything that's edible, but toasted bread produces 100,000 Fe, and toasted bread is just by cooking more bread, which is pretty efficient. Why do I need... Oh, that's just the energized smelter, that's what it is. And because we could just bone meal wheat for infinite bread, it's going to be pretty easy to get this going. Now, I believe the only cables we can use are the ones from Mechanism, so if I type cable, storage link cable, import, where are the energy cables? Item, extraction, energy. Well, this is from Cyclic. I thought Mechanism has their own, unless they're called something else. Let me take a look at Mechanism. Because I know we don't have access to the Mechanism logistics pipes, but I thought we could use the Mechanism energy pipes, and it doesn't look like it. So it looks like Mechanism only has the heat conducting pipes and the pressurized pipes, which is for chemicals. So how am I going to transfer power? Can't say I'm surprised. We're going to be using flex ducts. There's also, I thought there was that one mod that was like really good at transferring energy. Yeah, flex networks. Can't I just use that? Obsidian and bricks. That's kind of expensive and annoying, so I guess we'll just stick to flex ducts. These ones do have transfer rates though, but they're pretty easy to craft. We just need a bunch of sand so we can make these and get it going. But first things first, let me craft a bunch of bread. Bread. Throw that in there. Ooh, cheesy bread. That's all the wheat we have. Oh, I traded the wheat. Okay, that's no problem. Because I could just harvest more. So let's go ahead and make some leadstone flux ducts and get going with our initial, and we don't have lead or glass. And it looks like it's as simple as that. I threw in a hopping bonsai pot, and I decided to forego using the bread because I realized I could just grow bacon directly on top of the generator, and the generator will just start filling up with the products and converting it to energy, which is pretty good. So now we can just connect these with our flux cables, and the first thing I want to build out is the triple processing or production. I'm not actually certain if we can go higher than 3x in this pack, because I'm not an expert in what is it, Mechanism. I know Mechanism can usually go up to 4x, but I'm not quite sure how to do that in this pack, because the way I was looking at it was if I type ingot, for instance, iron, what I was looking at is if you can smelt a bunch of different stuff, including pulverized iron, to make an iron ingot. But there's different ways to get the pulverized iron, and if you take a look at Mechanism, you can make one pulverized iron from a dirty iron dust, and dirty iron dust is made from iron clump in a crusher, and iron clump is made from, you guessed it, wait, what is this, iron shard? This might be the extra step that I missed. You can just put iron amber in a purification chamber to get 3 iron clumps. But I think to get the 4x, how do I get an iron shard? I see, okay. So to get the 4x multiplier, we need a chemical injection chamber. You infuse the iron amber with hydrogen chloride to get 4 iron shards. Then you take these 4 iron shards and purify it with oxygen to get iron clumps, crush the iron clumps in a dirty iron dust, enrich that into pulverized iron, and then finally smelt that into your iron ingots. Interesting. But this is a higher tier machine. I don't think I've ever actually gone up to 4x. But I think I'll do it this time, because that sounds fun. And it will make this process of doubling the ores go a lot faster. And why do you have 32 iron in here? But sadly, it's looking like I can't do this yet, because we need osmium. And to make osmium, I need osmium. But to make osmium amber, we need quartz resin. And to get quartz resin, we need a quartz sapling. And to get quartz sapling, we need this magma slime crystal, which takes slimy magma mud, which takes nether items that I don't have. Now, we have a netherrack sapling, don't we? Let's see. Yeah, we have a netherrack sapling. So I want osmium sapling, quartz sapling. Then we're going to need magma cream soul sand. Magma cream can be made from blaze powder. Blaze powder comes from a glowstone sapling. And a glowstone sapling, okay, it takes quartz resin. So we'll need the quartz resin before we get this. Okay, I found it. So to produce soul sand, we have to pour experience on top of sand, which isn't that difficult, because I should be able to just come over here to our absorption hopper. And can I shift? No. I'll need a, what's the word? I'll need a tank and a pipe to take the experience out. And then we just have to pour it onto some sand, which shouldn't be that difficult. So if we go to mob grinding utils, actually I just need a fluid transfer pipe. I think we're looking at a fluid duct, right? I don't have these? Copper and glass. I don't have copper or glass? Are you serious? I know I don't have... Oh, because I never made any copper. That's the issue. Because we should have... Wait, we don't have copper saplings either? Are you serious? I never made a copper sapling? Molten copper. Copper amber. Sand. I never had copper? There was no copper tree in the beginning? I guess not. That's a little annoying. Well, in the age of farming, it does say how many trees there are. We're only missing 7. So I guess I need a copper sapling first. Well, alright, at least it's easy to solve. Alright, so we dye the sand red. Take this red sand. Use that to craft. What am I missing now? Oh, I used all the sand resin making sand. Dang it, this is so annoying. Where's my sand tree? I need 1 more or 2 more sand resin. Sand. Okay, sand resin. Make copper amber. Copper amber is then going to be melted into molten copper. And we're going to cast this on top of... What are we casting this on? On a spruce sapling. And a spruce sapling is petrified sapling and water. Petrified sapling is in here. Petrified. There we go. Petrified sapling. Where's my water? We're all out of water. That's fine. Water. And now we just cast. Probably need to make another casting table to make this easier. We take you out. Copper amber. Take you out again. So now we cast the copper on top of the sapling to make the copper sapling. And then I needed copper to make the pipes. That way I can take the experience out. So that'll make an ingot. So now we have copper saplings. Now we can use that to make more copper, which means I need more bonsai hopper pots. So now we have the 2 copper. Combine this to make our fluid ducts. Connect this to the absorption hopper and attach the singularity tank. So now if I do this here and tell this to output... How do I make it output fluid? Fluid west, fluid north. That's supposed to be... This is north. So U north should be fluid. West should be not fluid. Why can I not change this? Anyways, tank. Now how do I get you to output into here? Do I need a servo for this? I might need a servo. Or is it hot? Okay, so it's not hot. With the servo, it's working. I don't know why it won't automatically output, but... Yeah, now why doesn't this one want to automatically output? Fluid item. There we go. So now we can get a bucket of experience. And then why did I need this? I needed this for bucket of experience. Was it on osmium? I remember. We're pouring the experience onto the soul sand. Well, onto the sand, not the soul sand. We're making soul sand. So grab the sand out of here. And now this tank is empty, so I can use it. Sand goes here, and pour to make our soul sand. And looks like it takes a 1/4 bucket, so we can make 4 pieces of soul sand. And then using the soul sand, what am I trying to do? We're making the slimy magma mud, but then how do I get magma cream? With blaze powder and slime balls, not too difficult. Blaze powder can be made by crushing netherrack. Gotcha. How do I get the netherrack again? I had to do something, but I don't quite recall. So how do I get... I have the sapling. I do not have to craft it manually. Netherrack. Like so. And let's just make, we can make a lot of it. Let's make a stack. Now we can crush this to get our blaze powder. Now we combine these. Where's my slime balls? I thought I had slime balls. Slime ball. Combine these here. Let's make magma cream. Now we can take all of this and make slimy magma. No, we can. What am I missing? Slimy magma mud. Netherrack slime ball. We're out of slime balls. Nice. How did I run out of netherrack though? Because I left all the netherrack in here. You go there. Now I just need to grab our slimy tree. Which is... Where's my slimy tree? I think I stored them all in here. I did. And now I have the slime balls, and that doesn't work. Why don't you want to work? I'm so confused. Soul sand. This guy. Okay, I figured out the process. So I need to take this grindstone and start grinding this into... Okay, these endermen are being really annoying. But we're going to grind it into sulfur, as you can see there. One piece of sulfur. So how do I take the stuff out? How do I get my stuff out of this? Like that, perfect. So now we take this sulfur, and we need to use this to make... That's not useful. Pyrotheum dust. Then we need this pyrotheum dust to get melted into blazing pyrotheum. So now we're going to melt this into blazing pyrotheum, and then we're going to pour this blazing pyrotheum into a cauldron and add our sapling. After what felt like an eternity, now we have our blazing pyrotheum. So now if we just come over to our cauldron, I thought I had a... Oh, I do have a stone one. It's over here. Add our slime and make our magma slime. Now I can swap this guy with the magma slime sapling, and now we can make the crystal. What was it called? Slimy... Nope. Magma slime crystal with 2 slime balls, and then we can use that to craft our quartz sapling. Finally. Took forever. And then I think we can also just go all the way up to magma slimy dirt, because there's only 3 slimy saplings. And it's really not that expensive, because it'll take 3 magma slime crystals, which I can easily get, and a bucket of molten night slime. But I was looking at molten night slime, and night slime is just an alloy of iron, purple slime, and seared stone. I don't have purple slime yet, but I can easily get that from the purple sapling. As you can see here, if I type slimy, the purple slime sapling is just destabilized redstone, which is pretty easy to get because you can make that just from melting pretty much anything with redstone. And we only need a bucket of it, so it shouldn't be that difficult. And now that we got the slime balls, now we can use these to make our magma slime crystal, or what was it called? Slimy magma mud. Make this into the crystal, and now using that crystal, we can make the quartz sapling. Finally. And then I can finally get access to the osmium sapling. Magma crystal. Done. Use this to make... Where's my quartz? What do I need? Emerald sapling. There we go, 1 emerald sapling. To make the quartz sapling. Now I just have to grow this guy very quickly to get a little bit of resin, and then we can make the osmium sapling and actually get started with mechanism. Now I did notice some of my plants weren't growing, and I've never experienced this bug before. As you can see, the sand and the tin have stopped doing anything, and I'm not sure why. Because if I break this, quartz resin is collected. Now I can use this to make osmium amber. And now I can take the osmium amber, and how do I make the... I have to melt it into molten osmium. But then how do I make the sapling? Osmium sapling with a mineral sapling, and a mineral sapling is just lapis and water. Lapis in water. to make mineral. Now let me melt down this. And put you there to make the osmium sapling. And then I just have to wait to accrue a lot of it so we can actually work with the osmium ingots. But then I think we're ready to go with everything. Because we'll need to make steel, but that takes osmium. And steel ingots come from steel blend, which is just pulverized iron and coal. Which I can produce slowly, but produce it at all is something... Actually, do I need a crusher? I think I'll need a crusher for this. Steel, or no, you can make an alloy from this, right? Molten steel, alloying, molten iron, and liquefied coal. Liquefied coal is just melting coal. Okay, so I'll need an alloying setup for this. There we go, osmium. Osmium sapling. So I'll need to set up an alloying system so we can alloy it, but then we're good to go. And now we have the quartz and the osmium, and I'm going to have to set up another filing drawer for these guys, and we'll be able to start collecting this as well. Alright, so I figured out the issue. The hoppering bonsai pots need direct line of sight to the sun. So if you put a filing cabinet on top of them, they stop growing. So I had to just push them out horizontally instead of vertically, and that fixed the issue entirely. Now the back row has our emerald, sand, nickel, tin, quartz, osmium, glowstone, and mineral. I added mineral and glowstone just because I was going through the chapter here, and it mentioned glowstone was one of the sky orchid saplings we still needed, and it looks like we just need 3 more to obtain all of them, being the ardite, cookie, and cobalt sapling. The cookie one is pretty easy. It's actually not that difficult apart from getting the cocoa beans, which we don't have yet. But making the cookies themselves should be pretty simple to get. But then the cobalt and ardite ones are going to have to wait. Now we are starting to get some osmium ingots, which means we can start working on some of our machines. Probably the first one I want to get is the crusher, because we can use the crusher to make the next tier mulch. The amber mulch, or wait, no, the yellow mulch. Because it takes the brown mulch and 4 pieces of biofuel, and biofuel is just anything biological in the crusher to get 4. As you can see, that'll increase our drops by quite a lot. It's mostly about the growth rate. Everything will grow faster, and then after that we can get the amber mulch, which will take substrate, which will take a pressurized reaction chamber. But once we have the basic mechanism stuff set up, it really won't be that difficult to get more. And as you can see, you can make substrate from substrate just using ethylene. So you gotta do it anyway. And I also think substrate is needed for other stuff, right? Yeah, for the HDP pellets. For the mulches, we have to go pretty deep into mechanism regardless. HDP rod, is this the important thing? Plastic. I could have swore you needed the HDP for like building stuff. Maybe in this version of mechanism that just doesn't exist yet. But who's to say? So first things first, we're starting with the metallurgic infuser right here, which will take 2 furnaces. And we could just hook it up to our power generator right here. And the first thing we're going to make is some steel. Now I do think we're going to need, what does it take? Steel. That's an osmium ingot. Steel. Energized smelter, where is it? Oh right, because I need to make the steel blend first in the metallurgic infuser, and it just takes anything with carbon and iron. So let's just make a ton at first, and let's make a bunch of coal. Charcoal will work just fine. And let's go ahead and make a bunch of steel first. Now let's see, that's 1,000, so this is going to go pretty slow at the start. What is this reading as? You're outputting in... I cannot tell. I can't read. It is starting to exit though, but I think it's mostly because it's so full. It's not really an issue. But now we can start making steel blend and get the crusher next, which will only take... I guess we might need a second metallurgic infuser actually. Wait, no, this is mechanism. We could just upgrade these to factories. Factory. Upgrade. What were they called? Upgrade. It's easier if I just search for mechanism. Mechanism. Ah, interesting. So I guess in this version of mechanism, we don't have the simple right click to upgrade. You just have to take the machine and upgrade it further with the basic control circuits. And then you just go up into each tier. Interesting. That does make it seem pretty easy to do though. So let's start making some steel. And now with a bunch of steel, we can actually start crafting some of our other items. And the first thing I want to make is the crusher, which we're going to need to make some basic control circuits using osmium and redstone. So let's grab ourselves some redstone real quick. Control circuits, and we're going to make a ton because we're going to need a ton of them. And make ourselves a crusher. Huh, surprising there's no advancement for that. But now we can use the crusher for biomass so we can finally upgrade our mulch to the yellow version. And it's nice that you get double the mulch out of it because it kind of scales up. Because then I don't need to craft more of this brown mulch, I just get twice as much as before. And there we go. This is the simplest ore processing you can do. Enrichment chamber, into smelter, into ingot. Where's the ingot? Why aren't you eject on? There we go, into ingot. So this lets us double it. But we want to go up to triple. Now this is still better than this version because we don't need to keep supplying it with lava. It runs off of power. But now we want to get it even higher, which will require the purification chamber, which isn't that difficult to make at this point, because it just takes a lot of this enriched alloy, which is just iron and redstone. So let's go ahead and make some of that, and upgrade the processing line. Alright, so now we have tier 3, ore production. I built ourselves an electrolytic separator and a pump to put the water inside. So now we can put ores in here, and we can actually try this out with a little bit of, what's the word, osmium. Osmium. So now if we take our osmium block and put this in the purification chamber, it starts consuming oxygen, and it's going to produce, what is this called? Not this one. Where is it? It's going to produce 3 osmium clumps that are then crushed into, what is this? What are these called? Dirty osmium dust. But then this dirty osmium dust has to go into the enrichment chamber. And why aren't you outputting? Eject on, output right. You input red. There we go. So now we enrich the dirty osmium dust, and this gets enriched into osmium dust, which will then get smelted into osmium ingots. So now from a single piece of amber, we can make 3 times as many ingots. Now this does have its own problem. The electrolytic separator consumes power like crazy, and it also produces hydrogen, which we're not using in this process. But we can use that hydrogen in the PRC with our biofuel to make substrate and ethylene gas can be burned in a gas burning generator to produce more power. So now, after all that jank, we have a full setup. So we have this crusher feeding biofuel into the pressurized reaction chamber, making substrate and ethylene. The ethylene is then pumped out of the front into the gas burning generator, where it's producing power. So now, it all works. Now the only issue, I like gas burning generators. They generate a lot of power, but the problem is, their power generation rate is directly influenced by how full they are, and I can't really keep this full of ethylene because we're not producing that much, as it's very slow. But now that I have access to the substrate and our biofuel, we can go ahead and upgrade all of our hopping bonsai pots to, I believe this is tier 4 actually, mulch. Technically tier 3. Well actually, brown mulch, well if you call dirt tier 0, then brown mulch is 1, 2, 3. We can go all the way up to amber mulch, which doubles the growth rate and increases the drop chance by 170%. So I'm going to have to break all of these hopping bonsai pots and replace them, but then we'll start producing stuff twice as fast. And then I thought it would be fun if we grew a pig to put on a pig treadmill to make more power, but it seems like we actually got some animals to spawn on our grass. So I'm going to go ahead and take this pig over here and bring him over yonder. Come with me, little piggy. I have a job for you. Because I'm not quite sure how it works, but that is one of the advancements. Be Aiken. Use the treadmill to make pig power. Use a lead to attach the pig to the treadmill. And it's actually not that difficult to make a treadmill, as a treadmill takes some pretty common items. Iron bars, a daylight sensor. We're going to need obsidian and black carpet, which I don't have on hand, but it's pretty easy to make. And craft ourselves a treadmill. Now if we go ahead and make a lead, we can take our piggy, and where is he? Where'd my pig go? What are you doing back there, buddy? You need to be over here. So now if we take this treadmill, how do I connect this to power? It's a good question. Maybe if I turn it around, let's see. There we go. Now if we take our little piggy and put him on here, he gets to work. It does look a little buggy. I don't know why his head was flipping out like that, but it looks like he's generating 2.03 pig watts. Not sure how good that is though. It's actually kind of hard to tell how much power this actually produces, but I mean it's free, infinite energy. I don't know if we ever have to replace this guy, but that's not my problem. Oh, the installers are in this pack. They just look different from what I'm used to. Okay, well that's going to make upgrading the machines a lot easier, but I don't need to do that yet. I'm not quite sure how we're doing on power. It seems like everything is looking good, because I think the main power hog is our electrolytic separator, and since we're not doing any purification right now, it's not too bad. Now this does work, but I'm going to break it down and rebuild it at some point, because I'm going to want, later on, to have this system of amber automatically get crafted and pushed into the mechanism or processing automatically. I don't want to have to keep doing it myself, but if I'm going to be having these machines run 24/7, we're going to need 24/7 amounts of power, which we don't quite have yet. And then the last thing I wanted to do this episode was get us started with a bigger smeltery tank from Tinker's Construct, because I think next episode we're going to craft ourselves a nether cake and explore the nether so we can slay the wither. But to do so, we're going to need some better armor, and the Age of Enhancement does not really have a lot of tips. You can craft stuff like the edible arrangements to get a crafting table in your inventory. They have heart containers. I'm not sure what this is, but it's mostly just talking about making ourselves stronger, because there's even an advancement for dealing 20 or more damage to a creature, and I think with enough enhancements we can actually get there. So now, after a couple of minutes of crafting, we have every single Tinker's thingamabob available. I've never even seen a tool forge or the armor forge before from Construct's Armory, but apparently it's just to make better armor and stuff. I guess for the upgrades, like you put in the armor here and then you have different upgrades. Same for the tool forge, lets you make bigger tools. Now we are going to have to craft a yo-yo as per the advancements book, which will take a cord, body, and axle. But to make that, I'm not actually sure. Here's a tool station, stencil table. What is this? Bowstring, fletching pattern, cord pattern, part builder, armor station. So what's the difference between this one and this one? Probably the level of upgrades. So now that everything is cleaned up, let's gear up. So I'm just making a really basic yo-yo right now. Out of stone and string, stone yo-yo, level clumsy. Cheapskate, cheat. Cheap. 5 attack damage. Pretty cool though. Yo-yo ma. Huh, interesting. Reminds me of Terraria. Maybe I should make a better one of these. The range isn't that long. Well, if it's exactly like Terraria, that is the point. It's like the mid-range between a fully ranged weapon and a melee weapon. But I wonder, does this count as ranged? Let me try hitting an Enderman with this and seeing what happens. Probably not a good idea. Wait, I can hide. No, this is too tall. Okay, let me build a little platform and then hit him with it. Okay, let's see if this works. Interesting. So it counts as a melee weapon for Endermen. Good to know. Interesting, they dropped Infernium. I was wondering how I get Infernium in this pack, because you can't actually craft it yet. And there was no way to make it. So I guess I have to slay stuff, but none of these guys dropped Infernium. So I guess it only counts for player kills for Infernium. Or maybe it's just the yo-yo. Very weird. For now, let's craft ourselves some armor. And I think we're gonna go, I think we can craft it out of steel. So I think I'll go with that, because that should be probably the strongest thing we have right now. And now we put it all together in our armor forge, starting with the helmet, leggings, boots, and the chest plate. Now we put it on, and we look pretty sick. It's a shame it doesn't actually tell you how much the like actual armor you get out of it. But it is pretty good. Lots of armor toughness, lots of armor. Level clumsy, XP 0, steady and indomitable, control for more. Not sure what these mean. Let's see. Can I search for the modifiers? Modifiers. Blast resistance, resistant. Obsidian, tons of iron for these. Not really what I wanted to see. In newer versions, you can kind of see better into what you actually get out of it. But let's see how tanky the armor is by fighting one of these Endermen. Let me grab my yo-yo. Wonder which one does more damage. +5 and 6. Interesting. Oh, so you gain levels when you use it. So the stone yo-yo is level clumsy, but has 50 XP because I slayed an Enderman. So the armor should upgrade as well. And it looks like we take half a heart of damage from an Enderman, so this armor is pretty strong. Now let me put away this stuff. And I can't put it in there, that's a little annoying. Let me make a chest to store these casts. I probably have some chests sitting around. Put these right here. And now we just need a weapon. It's a shame there wasn't one for building the armor, but now we just need to build a sword that can do a lot of damage. And I'm guessing it's going to be like the two-handed ones. Those usually do the most. The cleaver is a heavy offensive weapon. Cleavers benefit from high damage. So we're going to want to make a cleaver. And then for the Ender Dragon, we'll probably want to make a bow as well, which shouldn't be that difficult. And now we can put it together and make ourselves the cleaver. Clumsy. Stiff, sharp beheading. Almost 14 attack damage. Pretty slow, but I want it to be stronger. How do I make it stronger? Armor station. Oh, I just have to apply modifiers to this, right? Oh, this is where you read it. So, unmoving. Blocking reduces damage taken even more. Sharp. Hitting an enemy leaves them bleeding. Beheading. Each level adds a 10% chance to get the enemy's head on a kill. Looks like we have room for 3 modifiers. And I think like some of the basic modifiers are just like diamonds, right? Diamond. Let's make a stack of these. So if I put our sword and the diamonds, we can add diamond, increase durability, and a little bit of attack damage. So we go from 13.96 to 15.16, and 500 durability. So that's not too bad. I'll take that. Also upgrade our armor with diamond as well. Diamond, increased durability. What else does it add? Let's see. Defense goes up by 4, which is pretty good. So let's add diamond to all of this. Give it a nice diamond trim. And what other modifiers are there? Like if I hit U, does it show me the modifiers? No. Which I think you're supposed to... This is what's annoying. I know there's the book... Tinkers. Yeah, they have the book, but then I have to craft the book. Newer versions don't have this issue. They just have it in the JEI. But I think we can also do... Redstone is also a modifier, I believe. So is quartz. I just don't remember what all of them do. Like if I take my sword and add quartz, it adds sharpness, so it makes it deal more damage. So it adds another hit. And looks like it goes up to, you can add 72. If we add redstone, makes it go faster, adds haste, which I don't really care about haste on a cleaver. What does lapis do? Lapis does stuff as well. Lapis adds luck, which I don't care about. Let's see, what are other modifiers? I think I need to look them up so we can actually reach this damage value of over 20. Or does that count if I just hit something right now with a crit? Like this Enderman. Okay, it does. So a crit with this sword does over 20 damage, which is pretty cool. But I want to see if we can get it even higher. So it's a good thing I read those Tinker books, because then I would not have known about consecrated soil, which is how you get smite on your weapons. Because we're going to be fighting the Wither, I want smite. So we can add our blocks of quartz to get, ouch, sharp, maxed out. And actually, does that take all of it? Modifier is 1. Oh, so if I add sharpness again, I get 2 more, which will add about 2 damage. But if I take consecrated soil, it adds 5.25 versus the undead because it's smite, which is a lot better than adding just 2. And it adds a little cool thing. So now we can add this, and we can keep adding more to increase the damage further. Oh, lightning. Spooky. And that's it, no more modifiers. Now, it didn't look like there was any way to increase the amount of modifiers you can put on your weapon, but now our sword has 1800 durability, 17 base damage, and versus undead, another 7. So versus the Wither, we're doing 24 damage per hit, and then we can crit for even more damage, which is really nice. And there was also a nice thing I saw in the quest, I mean not the quest book, the Tinker book, that I wanted to point out in case you never saw it yourself. What is it? What's the Tinker book called? Tinker Materials in You. Which I am not sure if that's in every version, but it was in its version. You can actually go to modifiers, and there's this modifier here, embossment. Take a tool part and emboss it onto the tool. It's like replacing the tool part, but better. The tool gets the traits of the part in addition to the ones already present, which is really good. You get the traits, but not the stats. What that means is you can take something like, you know, all of this stuff that has different parts and put it onto your tool. Now, I'm not sure if that applies to weapons, but it does say tool forge, so I think it would work. But you'd essentially be able to, because to make a steel cleaver has this stuff, so if you make a tool rod out of something else, for instance, if we take a look at tools, tool rod, and this actually has to be the heavy version, right? The tough tool rod. Tough tool rods. We made it out of steel, which is right here. And steel has the stiff modifier. But if we make something out of silver, we can add the holy modifier to it. We don't get the stats, but we still get that attachment. And that'll only take 3 pieces of silver to make. And as you could see, it's not even that expensive because it just costs slime crystals and blocks of gold, which we can craft now that we have access to all 3 of these trees. So I'm going to craft ourselves the silver one and see if I can add it and see if that actually increases the damage. Okay, so it does work. So now when I add the silver tough tool rod, it doesn't show it here, but you can see the modifier is added for another plus 5 damage versus the undead. Actually, can I scroll down? You can. Embossment, silver. Holy, deal radiant damage. Emboss with the power of silver, obtaining some of its traits. The difference is, if you remove this, if you take these off, you can still add it, but you're removing something else, as you could see. So the durability actually drops a little bit, because I believe we're replacing the steel handle with the silver one, which has less durability. But in exchange for getting that. But instead, we could just emboss it to gain that and keep the durability. So now we have a steel cleaver with a plus 11 modifier to the undead. So now we're at 28 damage. So I wonder what other modifiers I can add to this to keep it going, because those items are not that expensive, like, at all. But regardless, I think that this episode has gone on quite long enough. Okay, I actually look hilarious. Is there no way to... Actually, there is a modifier to make it invisible. I might make the head, what is it, the helmet invisible, so you can actually see, my face. But we look kitted out, and our sword is insane. So I think next episode, when we head to the Nether, we are going to be more than prepared. But as always, I'm your host, Hamas28, and I'll see you guys next time.